Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We're going to be taking a look at the new Marvel Champions expansion announcement for NeXt Evolution. This is supposed to introduce the X-Force to the game. We got a little bit of a leak as to what characters were going to be announced, with Domino and I'm forgetting his name now, Cable, being announced on the Instagram post. So had some ideas as to what would be coming out in this expansion. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help us grow. And for those of you already subscribed, thank you so much for the continuous support. Let's talk about the new cards for Marvel Champions. I'm pretty excited for this. So some quick thoughts before we begin, some predictions potentially. Obviously, we're going to be getting Domino as well as Cable. And I was thinking to myself, what sort of abilities would these characters have? I haven't looked at any of the cards yet. I saw the announcement this morning, so I put up a stream for later. So going into this completely blind, but some predictions, and hopefully I'm correct here. Domino, I hope, leans into something about luck or luck manipulation, maybe drawing cards, making guesses as to what's on top of the encounter deck or your own deck. That sounds like a lot of fun to me, putting into this push your luck aspect that I enjoy from card draw games like this. And hopefully we can see something done well in Marvel Champions. And then on the other side of that, we have Cable, and hopefully he's going to be doing something that has to do with predicting the future, not necessarily going into a luck aspect, but maybe being able to react to potential threats. So setting up something to do with time traveling. Let's see how they translate it into this in the article here. So let's take a look at the article. And the best way that I found that I like to do this is going through the cards that are revealed, not necessarily going through any of the actual encounters or anything like that. Reading the article, it does take a bit long. So we'll go through all of the different cards. And then at the very end, I'll talk about my favorite cards, the showstopper, the card of the announcement. So whatever one that I think stood out the most. So let's take a look at Marvel Champions NeXt Evolution. So first off, we have the box here, and we'll look at down here. Oh my gosh, a whole slew of cards. There we go. Cable and Domino. It looks like Stryfe and Juggernaut. Wolfsbane as an ally. It looks like just a generic one. And let's look at the cards themselves. So we'll start off with Chimera. So this is one of our villains that we'll be fighting against. Awesome. I honestly don't know this character, but we've got a force interrupt. When Chimera attacks you or an ally you control, you either spend a brain resource or plus to attack. So you do have an option to engage with it, which is great. More choices for us as players. But if you don't, you're going to get punished. So you could think about that in deck building. But honestly, I don't know how big of an issue that's going to be. And you also have only a single scheme. So this is one that it's not going to hurt to stay in alter ego, which is nice. The X-Men love that, but not sure about the X-Force and if they're going to have something similar. Maybe they enjoy being in hero mode. Who knows? Next up, we have one more here. Arclight. Oh, so maybe it's a team of heroes. Force interrupt. When Arclight attacks you or an ally you control, choose confuse a character or plus to attack. So all these villains have some form of option. That seems to be the trend. The Marauders. Next up, we have Greycrow, another Marauder. Force interrupt. When Greycrow attacks you or an ally, choose discard your highest cost card or plus X attacks for the highest costed printed card. Oh my gosh, this is terrifying. So are you going to take an extra 4 damage, or are you going to discard your mansion or take that extra 3 and discard that X, or discard the X-Jet? Another choice. Love it. So it sounds like a terrifying team. Next up, we have Morlock, an ally. Victory -1. So don't want this one gone for sure. Does not count against your ally limit. Card abilities cannot remove this ally from play. Force interrupt. When an enemy attacks you, it attacks a Morlock you control instead. So maybe you have multiples of these? Huh. Interesting. So you're going to need to be defending at certain points. I imagine toughness is going to be wonderful here. Healing. He does have a lot of health with 5, so maybe that's something helpful. Maybe this has something to do with the Days of Future Past or something in the Cable mythos lore. Who knows? I imagine that that's going to have something to do with the scenario itself. So interesting. Maybe there are a bunch of Morlocks. We've got some environments for standard mode. Cards under here are not in play. So you have a out of play banished area, maybe forced response. After the villain is defeated, put it under here. Discard each minion that shares a title with the top villain of the villain deck. Okay. The villain activates against each player in play order. Okay. So you're going to have interesting. So they're going to have teams that potentially switch in and switch out. Who knows? Morlock Siege. Then we've got Bolstered by Wrath. Attached to the villain. Hero action. Exhaust a character you control. Spend X resources of any type, where X is the number of villains under routed. So this is going to get harder and harder to deal with the more that your game goes on. I like that. It's things that scale with you. Push to the limit. Attached to the villain. Well, there's exactly 1 villain under rooted. Attached villain gains steady. Well, there are exactly 2. Attach villain gains stalwart. Attach villain attacks you, discard this card as a hero action. That's also a fun choice to decide to take a damage in order to get rid of that. It also adds some more effectiveness to those cards that allow you to get rid of things with attachments on them. If you're watching live, I'd love to hear if you have any comments or anything you'd like to talk about of these cards and get some discussion going. What are your favorite cards from this one by the time we get to the end? We have Hide, a Treachery, Surge. When revealed, give a Morlock ally a tough status card. This is a great thing for you in your case. And on the boost, same thing. Give a Morlock ally a tough status card. Give the villain an additional boost card for this activation. So not as good, but actually it's always good. This card is just great. Excellent. So it will always happen, giving you some relief when you're needing to give the Morlocks the damage. Mutant Massacre. Action, exhaust a Morlock ally, shuffle Hide from the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. Oh, nice. Cool. You have ways to recur that. And if there are 3 villains under routed, the players win the game. So you're trying to get rid of some of those marauders, it looks like. If the stage is completed or there are no more Morlock allies in play, the players lose the game. This sounds like a great evolution to the save Robert Kelly side scheme, where you're going to have this group of Morlocks and then this group of villains that you're fighting against. And it seems that the scenario scales with you, which is exciting because it's not just this thing that can potentially get rid of all your progress that we saw with Sabretooth. And a lot of heroes had a tough time with that, particularly in the higher player counts. So hopefully we'll see if that is an actual thing. Yeah, we'll see. This is Mutant Massacre. Next, we have Hope's Captor. Ah, okay. So, what's the name of this? If you know, let me know in the comments. But I feel like I just played this in Marvel Legendary, like Save Baby Hope. That's a thing, right? So Hope's Creator, permanent, force interrupt. When the villain would attack you, if a Marauder minion is engaged with you, the villain schemes instead. Force interrupt when the villain will be defeated. Reset attached villain's hit points to a printed point value. Instead, flip this card and reveal it. What? Flip this card and reveal it. Interesting. So maybe this is going to have something hidden underneath it. Who knew? Go figure. Okay, interesting. Another Hope's Captor. The villain gets +6 hit points. Permanent. When revealed, advance the main scheme to stage 2A. This effect cannot be canceled. Force interrupt. When the villain would attack you, if a Marauder minion is engaged with you, the villain schemes instead. Oh, well, okay. So it gives the villain a way to bypass you if you haven't dealt with the minions. So it puts some pressure on you to actually deal with the minions instead of just going straight face. It makes the villain stronger, but it's going to advance the scheme. So it sounds like this is going to be a way to circumvent some potential negative in this scenario. That's exciting. And then here we go, Escaping with Hope. Each Marauder minion gains guard and steady. In expert mode, the villain gains steady. I like these changes where based on your difficulty, the scenario is also going to change. So I love seeing that. We saw that with the Sinister 6 expansion in the Spider one, Sinister Motives. So that was awesome. I hope that they continue to implement this. Hey, Hop, how are you doing? Welcome. Glad to have a fellow Coloradan here. I hope that you're excited for all this Marvel Champion stuff as I am. So I've been waiting all day. I saw the message, didn't look at it. So this is so cool, so exciting. I love Marvel Champions. We've had a big dry spell here. Each Marauder minions gains guard. Villain is defeated. The players win the game. This stage is completed. The players lose the game. Okay, so this is the second one. The second stage, it looks like. And then Juggernaut, coming from just the Nemesis minion to now an actual full-on villain. Unstoppable Juggernaut. Forced interrupt. When this scheme would be completed, instead do the following. Remove all the threat. If Juggernaut exposes in play, you flip him back to, I imagine, the unexposed version. Place a momentum counter on Juggernaut, and then Juggernaut attacks each player in player order. And let's see what the Juggernaut actually says. Nice. Okay. 1 scheme, 2 attack, brute, +1 attack for each momentum counter here. Okay. So you're going to get mad punished if you just let him scheme off on you. When revealed, place a momentum counter here, give Juggernaut tough status. So he's just going to go bigger and bigger and bigger. Juggernaut's helmet, permanent, attached to Juggernaut. Juggernaut gains stalwart. His attacks gain overkill. You can spend 3 resources to remove all the momentum counter from him and flip this card. Ah, there you go. There's his exposed version. Attached to Juggernaut, 1 additional damage from each card with a printed brain resource. After he schemes, you put a momentum counter on it. So, okay, this makes sense. I like it. You have a way to get rid of it. This seems like another evolution from scenarios we've already seen, particularly the Venom encounter with the Bell Tower. I don't know about you, but whenever I play the Venom encounter, I almost never use the Bell Tower. Maybe that's just me being bad at Marvel Champions, but it feels like it's just not worth it a lot of the times to actually engage at all with the bell tower because there's a lot of encounter cards that deal with that. So this seems like it's something that will be worth it. If his momentum gets up to a certain amount, it actually will be efficient to actually expose him, get rid of the helmet, and then put him back into this weaker state. So actually giving you a break from the relentless assault of these ridiculous momentum counters. And I imagine there's going to be other ways for him to gain them. For example, encounter cards for sure are probably going to add more of these momentum counters to Juggernaut. So I imagine this is going to be a pretty dang good breath of fresh air to be able to willingly be able to engage with this. Next, we have Hope Summers, Psionic X-Force X-Men, 3 health, and set up. The first player controls Hope Summers. Hope Summers does not count towards against your ally limit. I'm curious what you think about cards like this. We saw this with Magneto. And when you played with Magneto, particularly in the solo player account, it was way easy. You could just really take that game and just go off because you just had all of these extra stats that you started the game with. So it helped you stabilize way quicker than you were able to normally. So I'm curious your thoughts on starting with allies like this and if they are integral to the scenario. Let's read the rest of the card though. Hope Summers base thwart and base attack are equal to the thwart and attack of your hero. Okay, awesome. So this means that you're just going to be doing your job better. And that's kind of cool because if you're playing with multiplayer, you're going to be passing the hero around, which means that Hope stats will shift when passing through players. That's awesome. And if Hope dies, you lose. Makes sense. Got to save baby Hope, right? Next, we have Captive Hope. All right, I know the deal. Hope Summers cannot ready. When revealed, exhaust Hope Summers. Cool. I like it. It makes sense. And you got a way that you actually have to deal with something to continue using your busted ally. And that's kind of neat that if Hope gets captured, she can't actually be used to solve her own side scheme. So awesome. It's thematic without even trying. Awesome. And then we have Mr. Sinister. Ooh, so cool. Force response. After a status card is placed on Mr. Sinister, place a threat on the main scheme. So it's going to punish you for trying to stun or confuse lock him. Next, we have Flight attached to the villain during setup. Permanent gains aerial and overkill. So this is going to punish you hard for letting your allies take those damage. And then we have Super Strength attached to the villain. Permanent, oh my gosh, gains the Brute trait and Steady. Steady characters require 2 status cards. The same, okay, it has Steady and Brute. So I'm curious what the setup conditions are going to be. Maybe you set up a couple of these, sort of like the experimental weapons deck. Well, maybe that's going to be what this scenario is. Telepathy, okay, so a bunch of powers, or maybe by how poorly you do in the campaign, you're going to get a bunch of these. I could see that being a thing too. If you take too much time, it's got all these adaptations. Attach to the villain, gains Psionic and Retaliate. Okay, lots of different small keywords here. Genetic Mastery. If Mr. Sinister has those traits, it does those things. Okay, it's going to scale with his special abilities, indirect damage, exhaust your identity, place your threat in the main scheme. It's a nasty card if it gets all the way to the top. Ugh, that's almost like there's a bunch of really bad expert cards that are all similar to this. Not great. And then we have Stryfe, villain, 1 scheme, 0 attack, but it's obviously going to increase. While Stryfe is attacking you, it gets plus X attack, where X is the number of cards of the most common type in your hand. Interesting. So I will probably have to look this up. If you know, let me know in the comments. But if it's type, is that talking about event, asset, resource? I think that's what they mean by type here. That's kind of interesting because I think you play a good mix of everything, but I could see how this could be scarier later in the game because you've played up a lot of your supports and upgrades in front of you. So then you're going to start getting all of that same type of card in your hand. So I can see this scaling towards the end of the game once you start creating your engine in front of you. So kind of cool. I like that. Next, we have Stryfe's Grasp. Permanent, hinder 6. Hope Summers can attack only Stryfe and can thwart only this side scheme. Well, there's a great way to solve that issue if you have that extra character, that extra ally getting out of hand. Now this one can only target Stryfe. So I like this concept here. Force response. After Stryfe is defeated or the last threat is removed from the scheme, flip the card and reveal Living Bomb. Place any threat here on Living Bomb. Do we get to see what that is? Uncontrollable Power. Force response. After resolving step 1 of the villain phase, each player places X threat here, where X is the number of cards of the most common type. Okay, same type of thing. Each player may discard 1 card from the hand before calculating the value of X. Interesting. So not only is this going to allow you to engage and change how much threat you're putting on here, but that also is going to lead into Stryfe's attack on you, so you can also make that choice. You can heal yourself, you can potentially like prevent a damage as well as prevent some thwarting, and it looks like each player gets to do that, which is awesome. So that means that you're going to be giving a lot of choice on how to interact with pretty much every villain in this set, which is wonderful. So it looks like the difficulty will scale with the difficulty setting, but every time you play, you are going to have the choice on how to engage with these villains. I'm curious how exactly how difficult this will be and if it even is a choice to engage. That's one issue that I do have with games sometimes is they offer you this choice, but one of the choices is clearly better than the others. But seeing as it affects both of the attack as well as the thwart in the same card and the same choice, that's pretty awesome to me. Next, we have Living Bomb. There we go. Victory 1, Stryfe can't be defeated. When revealed, advance the main scheme to stage 2A. This effect cannot be canceled. Ooh, that's terrifying. So it's going to force you and then give you another distraction. Left to your fate. Stryfe gains Stalwart. Everybody gets +2 hand size. Increase the resource cost to play each player card by 1. Oh my gosh, that's awful. If this stage is completed, the players lose the game. So I was really excited when I saw the +2 hand size. I was like, oh, that's interesting because you're going to have more choices, but potentially more damage from everything. But then everything's also +1 cost. That's going to suck when you're playing all these small cheap cards. That's something to think about deck building wise, because stacking all those cheap cards is not going to be a great way to play. And that's interesting. One of my favorite ways to play, for example, Scarlet Witch, is to play all these 0 cost cards and just go crazy with Hex Bolts. And that way you're able to pretty much use every single card that you draw at all times. Or if you're playing Drax, something similar. So this is going to punish that strategy, which is kind of scary to think about. So you have to be very careful in what you're playing. So maybe playing gigantic cards is the way. Hop's got a good question here. Do expansions like this one typically increase the weight of a game? How much so in this case? I actually would say that they do not increase the weight. They just explore the existing mechanisms. And right here with this expansion, I don't think I've actually seen a new keyword at all, which is awesome. That means that they're taking all of the existing mechanisms and rules that exist in Marvel Champions and using them in new and unique ways, giving us new choices, new ways to interact, but not necessarily throwing a huge amount of rules at us. So I would say that they don't really increase the weight of the game, just the options, the choice, and the challenge, and giving you more interesting ways to play a game that you enjoy. It's one of the things I like so much about this, and things like Arkham Horror, the card game, where you're still doing the same core things, but you have so many new options on how you get to engage with that. So I don't think so that this necessarily increases the weight. If it added entire new systems or new mechanisms as a whole, maybe yes, because now you have more things that you have to think about for the entire game and experience. But in this case, if you're engaging just with this, I would not necessarily say that it's going to increase the weight here. Next, we have Nathan Summers. Here we are. So we have our first character here with Cable. Mutant Soldier. You may include player side schemes from any aspect in your deck. Oh, so you know what I said about that weight thing? Here you go. Here's a new thing, a new type of card, player side scheme. So we saw this in Lord of the Rings, the card game, where there are additional side schemes that you as a player play into the enemy area, and then it's something that you have to defeat, and if you do, you get a bonus of some sort. So I imagine that's what this is, and so it looks like Cable here can play all of them. So having its own little side quest that they can finish. During setup, search your deck and discard pile for a player side scheme and put it into play. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to keep any of the X-Men trading. Nope, here we are, Soldier X-Force. Response, after Cable defeats a side scheme, any side scheme, ready him. Limit once per phase, amazing stat line. X-Force character, so we're going to see a brand new slate of supports for X-Force. This seems pretty dang solid, particularly if you can play whatever side schemes you want. That just means he's going to just get better and better the more of these get released. Next we have, there it is, our first player side scheme. Victory point 0, so it's gone once you play it, which is kind of terrifying because now your deck is smaller and this is just a one-shot ability. Characters other than Cable can't remove any threats from here. 5 threat, and while Technovirus Purge is in the victory display, Nathan Summers and Cable gain the psionic trait, and Cable gets +1. Oh, okay, but this is totally worth it. So this is essentially a additional +1 to all your stats. So it's a 2-cost upgrade that is permanent. Basically can never be removed, I would say, and unlocks Psionic. So that means that you're able to now use all of these busted Dream Gray cards, including the, which one's the best one? The yellow one's pretty dang good. I honestly don't play with Phoenix a lot, so I don't use the Psionics card a lot. But I remember the yellow one being pretty dang awesome. I want to say that it allows you to, if they thwart, you just remove that much thwart. So you're blocking, you're confusing, and also thwart removing at the same time. So this is great. This is super cool. It can only be removed from Cable, though. So I'm curious. I want to know what type of thwarting ability Cable has aside from his standard one. Next, we have Call for Backup, another player side scheme. Victory 0. When defeated, every player may search their deck and discard pile for any ally and put it into play. This card is great. This does have that trend, though. It looks like all these will have some type of victory cost, which is scary because you are thinning your deck so much that once you get to that end game, it's going to be terrifying. And this ally is not necessarily permanent like we saw with those stat buffs. So this is scary, but also super powerful. So this comes into play with 3. So if you can reliably thwart for 3, which now Cable can because of that first card, this card is probably going to be amazing in his deck. So this is awesome. Call for backup. Establish perimeter. When defeated, give each identity a tough status card. I don't know if this one's worth it at all, personally. That the victory thing, it's only a one-time, one cost. You have to do an additional thing to remove the 2 threats. It is threat. Good question, Danica. So the victory condition on a card means that when it's removed from play, it goes into a separate area, not in the discard pile of anything, just in a separate victory points area. It's a way that cards get permanently removed from the game. So if this card gets thwarted, after you play it, you thwart it, you remove the 2 threat, you gain your tough status, but now this card is no longer in any discard pile. It's removed from the game. So it's gone. And now your deck is smaller, but you got that one benefit. And I don't think this tough status is going to be enough to warrant playing in your deck. There's a lot of other 1-cost cards that give you a tough status, and we even have some crazy new characters that are going to give us tough statuses. I don't know if there's going to be some that are... Oh, I guess Cable is an X-Force and not an X-Men, so he's not going to be able to use a lot of the X-Men specific cards that allow you to generate things like that, but I don't know if this is going to warrant including this in your deck just for that single tough status. Oh, but it is each identity. Give each identity a tough status card. So maybe it is. Maybe this will be way better at higher player counts. But if you are playing at higher player counts, then the thwart is bigger. It's no longer just 2 threat. It's going to be whatever the player count is times 2. This is a hard card to evaluate. Looking at it first glance in the Cable deck, maybe not. Just from the 6 cards that I've seen. But right now, not overly impressed with that one. Next, we have Bodyslide. Okay, seeing some non-side schemes. Action, change form. Each other player may change to the form you are in. Ooh, that's really good. That's super good, particularly if Cable is first, because then you can switch to Alter Ego. If you're with a team of X-Men, for example, they get to use all of their suite of Alter Ego cards, and then immediately can switch back into their hero mode, not give any advantage. This is excellent, and it's a 0 cost. This is wonderful. This is a great card. Next, we have Precognition. Ooh, yeah, hero action, psionic superpower. Look at the top X cards of the encounter deck. X is the number of side schemes in the victory display. Of course, there's a benefit to getting them in the victory display. This is brilliant. This is why I love Marvel Champions so much. They think of everything. They take all of the things that I'm thinking about and they give me solutions to potential problems. This is so cool because now you're leveling up yourself while still giving yourself some form of threat in that small deck size, but now all your cards are better. This is awesome. Let's see what it actually does. X is the number of side schemes in the victory display. Discard 1, put the rest back in any order. So you get to see what all the upcoming boost cards are. You get to get rid of a potential problem one. And based on how many you go through, you can even get all the way into the encounter phase, particularly if playing with lower player counts. So this is pretty dang cool. And the fact it costs 0 is great. Awesome. Great card. Let's go to the next one. Ooh. Oh my gosh, we're only at 36 of 61. I did not realize how big this was. Okay, I have time. All is good. Mind Scan, 2-cost event, psionic superpower, thwart, hero action. Thwart, remove 3 threat from a scheme, remove 1 additional threat from that scheme for each side team in the victory display. Excellent. I hope this trend continues with all of his abilities scaling based on the amount of cards in the victory area. This card's awesome. It starts off as pretty generic, but it's going to get better. And it is any scheme, not just a side scheme. It's also got a lot of tags. Most of Cable's cards that we have seen have all shared great traits, so you can use a lot of team building exercises without being locked specifically into X-Men or something like that. So you have lots of flexibility with the player cards, and they're also superpowers. Then we have Telekinetic Blast, same thing, but it's going to be for damage. 6 damage base, 1 extra for each side scheme in the victory display. 3 costs, 6 damage. Not great, I don't think, but getting extra damage over time sounds fine. Continuing on, we have the Professor. Persona Tech, Alter Ego action, exhaust Professor, choose to either draw a card or search your deck and discard pile for a player side scheme and add it to your hand. Probably amazing in Cable, seeing as it's not specific to like an aspect side scheme, so it can be some of Cable's. Get the ones that are essential for Cable's kit, like the +1 to everything. This card's awesome. I think that you're going to be using it a lot as Cable, particularly because you get that free switch into your Alter Ego mode with that card that we saw earlier with the form change. Then we have an upgrade, Forced Amnesia, psionic superpower, hero response. After a non-permanent side scheme is defeated, add Forced Amnesia and that side scheme to the victory display. So this is a way to permanently remove cards from the encounter deck. So if you find one that's particularly annoying, there's that one for what were we playing recently? I think it was the Lady Deathstrike one where it keeps on coming out and she just keeps on spawning. Or what was the other one? There was a really nasty one we were playing the other day, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. It had Surge, it like summoned extra things. It was one of the worst. I think it might have been an Mojo set. Those are pretty nasty, the side schemes in there, but yeah, this seems great. You can get rid of problem cards as long as it's not permanent. So works for me. I think that's awesome. And it's going to boost up Cable's kit as well without removing cards. Well, I guess this one also leaves. Oh, what do the other cards say? Do they say, okay, it's got to be a side scheme in the victory display. So you're still losing the card from your deck, but you are able to remove a side scheme. So you're still leveling yourself up. So far, that's a lot of cards leaving your deck if you're Cable. I guess that means that your deck's going to be a lot smaller. So you can get consistently good hands, but then you're getting an extra encounter card way more frequently. I'll have to play this one. I really have to play this one and see his power level. Next, we have Caliban. This is our leadership ally. So Cable's leadership, maybe. Caliban's an ally, 3 cost, 1 thwart, 2 attack. After Caliban enters play, discard cards on the top of your deck until an X-Factor, X-Force, or X-Men ally is discarded. Add it to your hand. This card is excellent. I think it replaces itself. It is not as expensive as Beast. It is going to search you for cards with specific tags, and so it's going to allow you to combo into different things. This card is excellent. Yeah, and it's an X-Force and Psionic, so it's got a lot of versatility when it comes to those tags. Looks good. Then Fantomex, 4 cost, 1/1/3 is better got a great effect. Psionic, so Psionic X-Force. After Fantomex enters play, search your deck and discard pile for E.V.A and put it into play. Interesting. Let's find what E.V.A does. E.V.A, 0 cost support. If Fantomex is not in play, discard E.V.A. So you can only use it if you actually have Fantomex. And when Fantomex, the ally, actually is discarded, this will also be discarded. Interesting. Exhaust E.V.A, choose. Remove a threat from a scheme, deal a damage to an enemy, heal a damage from Fantomex. So you are essentially getting, for 4 cost, a 2/2 that you can, a 1/1 that you can use forever, or you can get a 2/2, 2 turns every so often. But you can heal yourself. So this is a lot more frequent than that. This leans into the whole Cable thing of having a really small deck, though. So that's terrifying. This card is cool, though. I like it. You have a lot of versatility with this. And I think with attachments onto allies, that'll be super powerful. If you just slap a bunch of attachments onto Fantomex, you can use the other one to just heal them a bunch. So you have a lot of flexibility with how you want to build your Fantomex. I like this. It's cool. The fact that it searches its own upgrade is interesting. It does have to, it can come from your discard pile. So even if you do draw them at the same time, you can discard the E.V.A in order to play Fantomex and then just pull it right back out. I like cards with versatility like that. It allows you to actually play them if they're both in your hand. So that's one thing that I find annoying with multiple man, is if you do draw 2, it just feels so bad because I think they have to come from your deck, and that's not great. Or I think they can come from your hand or deck, but still, if you don't commit, you're just not getting all the value from it. 2 cost, event, mission, planning. Play only if there's a side scheme in the victory display. Awesome. Hero action until the end of the phase. Allies you control do not take consequential damage. This seems pretty great if you have some pretty big allies. And in particular, we saw the side scheme that can fish an ally from your deck right away. So playing this in tandem with all those other amazing cards, this is actually going to get you more value. I don't know how good 2 costs for this is. I imagine you're going to be playing some of those big resource cards. You could even potentially play the one that gives you a bunch of resources based on how many allies you had if you're planning on keeping them out for a while. So this could be a good card. Then we have Uncanny X-Force, 2 cost support team. Play under any player's control, max 1 team card per player. If each of your characters is an X-Force character, each ally you control gets +1 thwart and takes -1 consequential damage after thwarting a side scheme. So you've got the whole squad that's out there taking out side schemes. I'm wondering if Domino will lean into the side schemes as well. We haven't seen any of her cards yet. Next, we have Deadpool. Nice. A neutral ally, 3 cost, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health, and a mercenary and X-Force. Forced interrupt. When Deadpool would be defeated by consequential damage, heal 3 damage from him instead, and add an acceleration token to the main scheme. Oh. Oh, this is a cool card because you don't have to let him die by consequential damage. You can let him die from other ways. Good stat line for a 3 cost, 3 health, 2/2. Can live forever, potentially. If you are in the later stages of the game and you need a rush, you can do that. A character that you can put allies items on forever and just keep on ramping this up. Oh, this is cool. I like this card. This gives the player choices to keep their crazy allies alive. Then we have, there we go, Domino, Neena Thurman. Domino, a mutant, 3 health, Alter Ego, action, choose a card in your hand, swap that card to the top card of your discard pile. Oh, limit once per round. What do you know? I win again. So let's see if they have any, if Neena here has any amazing Alter Ego event cards that they can keep on abusing. Hand size 6, hit points 9. And then Domino on her full side. Posse and X-Force, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 defense. Okay. When counting resources on cards, discard from the top of your deck, counting each printed wild icon twice. Okay. Oh wow. This is leaning into Vanguard. So you're going to be milling cards in order to get different boosts from your icons. You want to use those wild symbols. Action. Choose a card in your hand. Swap that card to the top card of your deck. That's fun. You can Alter Ego chain a card from your discard pile into your hand back on top of your deck by shifting through all 3 of them. That's cool. All right, let's see these cards. Diamondback, 2-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 health. Posse. Action, exhaust Diamondback, deal a damage to her, and discard the top card of your deck. Deal a damage to each enemy for each resource icon discarded this way. This is terrifying. So, do you think we'll get double wild resource cards in this deck? That's probably what's going to happen. Or maybe you'll get triple, like a lucky 7 or something like that. I could see that being a thing where Domino just has ridiculous amounts of wild resources built in because you're trying to hit that jackpot here. Exhaust Diamondback. Okay, this card can be great, particularly if you're able to hit multiple wilds. That's crazy. That's super strong. And the next, good workout. 2-cost event, wild resource, tax, superpower, hero action. Deal 4 damage to an enemy, discard the top card of your deck. For each resource icon discard this way, deal an additional damage to the enemy. Makes sense. I think I like the ally a bit more. That huge spread of damage is awesome. Luck be a lady, 1-cost event. Wild resource, that's awesome. If all of these just keep on being wild resources. Superpower, hero action. Discard the top card of your deck and count the resources on it. For each resource counted this way, if it is a lightning, heal 2 damage. Brain, remove 2 threat from a scheme. Punch, deal 3 damage to an enemy. Wild, choose one of the above. So heal, removal threat, 3 damage. So very similar to something like Adam Warlock, but instead from your hand, it's from your deck. So that's automatically better in my opinion, but you don't have as much control. But with Domino, you do have the control because you're able to stack stuff. So this leans into this perfectly. And please show me a card with like 3 wild icons on it. 2-cost upgrade, Domino's Pistol, restricted, weapon, hero action, attack. Exhaust Domino's Pistol, choose an enemy and discard the top card of your deck. Deal a damage to that enemy for each resource icon. Discard it this way, it gains ranged, excellent card. This is, that's just clearly great. Probability field, 2-cost upgrade, interrupt, when you use a basic power, discard the top card of your deck, plus 1 of that power for this use for each resource icon discard this way. Another awesome card. So this is just leaning into this heavily. I love this. This is so cool. We just need some awesome resource cards now. Pip the Pug, a 1-cost support creature. Alter Ego action. Exhaust Pip the Pug. Put Domino or Posse card from your discard pile on top of your deck. There you go. There's the Alter Ego card. Amazing. This card is great. And then, I called it. Jackpot. All the resources. Response. After this card is discarded from the top of your deck, shuffle it back in your deck. Oh my gosh, it's even better than I imagined. This is great. Oh, it's so good. It rewards you. Can you imagine having the dream Domino turn where all you have in your deck is 2 cards? One of them is a jackpot, and then one of them is, honestly, it doesn't matter at this point, but you're just cycling the heck through it, being able to modulate and change whatever's on top of your deck, getting jackpot consistently. How many jackpots are in the deck? I need to know. So this is number 8 out of 15, 9 out of 15. Is there a 7 out of 15? 11, 5, 3, 1. Oh, we don't know. How many jackpots are there? No, we'll never know. So we have to wait till it comes out. Okay, that would have been excellent. Wolfsbane, 3-cost, 2 thwart, 1 attack. Response, after Wolfsbane thwarts, name a card type. Then discard the top card of your deck. If that card is of the name type, you may add it to your hand. Ooh, this card is great, particularly in Domino. Go figure. So getting additional things, and that could be actually amazing with on any resource card. This is so good. This card's amazing because you can choose whatever you're stacking with either side of Domino. This is great. Team Investigation. That's interesting. We have not seen a card like this, or maybe this is the first one I'm seeing in this preview. I might have gone a little fast here, but 2-cost per player. Alliance, players can pay the cards group as a cost, remove 3 threat from a side scheme. Hero action. I think this is really cool. hero cards that scale, not just villain cards that scale. I like this concept a lot, and I think it's going to open up the design space a lot. This is pretty generic for what it is. I like that all players can funnel their resources in here. If somebody has a hand that's not as great, they can pay the majority of the cost. This is actually a pretty great card. I like this one. That is Team Investigation. Then we go on to, oh, there we go, another player's side scheme. Take out the guards. Victory 0. When defeated, each player may discard one non-elite minion from play. This is awesome, a way that people that are only doing heavy thwart can get rid of minions. Obviously, you're going to run into some problems with minions that are required from like scenarios to be defeated, hence the non-elite. Next, we have Overwatch, 0 cost upgrade. Attached to a scheme, max 1 per scheme. I love cards like this. There's the deck with Venom where you're just playing all of the cards that attach to side scheme. I think it's so much fun. So I love this archetype. So attached to a scheme, max 1 per scheme. Hero interrupt. When any amount of threat is removed from attached scheme by a thwart, discard this card, remove an equal amount of threat from a different scheme. I feel like we have this card already. Yeah, this is the card that we have already. It's the one with Spider-Man on it in the rain. Okay, it's just alternate art, it looks like. That doesn't mean that this card isn't great. This card's amazing. I think it's so much value for 0. It's crazy. And now that you're going to be adding new additional side schemes that are initiated by the players, you're going to have so much opportunity for timing of these cards. These cards are even better now. Yes, heck yes. This is awesome. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of decks that really lean into this side scheme stuff. Outlaw, this is another Domino ally. Oh, so cool. So she has multiple signature allies, her posse. So Outlaw, Domino, Inez, Temple, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 health, toughness. When Outlaw attacks, discard top part of your deck, +1 attack for this attack for each resource icon discarded this way. Awesome. So you have one of your posse that's going to be able to spread damage, and then one of your posse that's going to be able to direct that damage. This is excellent. And do you think we'll have another posse member that will do thwarting? Nope. White Fox, Amy Han, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 resource cost, 3 health, posse. Response, after White Fox is discarded from the top of your deck, put her into play under your control. This card is excellent. This card is so good. This is one of the better cards, I think, in this deck. And the fact that it's neutral, you're going to see this card all the time in any deck that has any form of milling. The fact it doesn't have any tags that trigger off of like all of the other effects. We just saw the cable card that allows you to search for a X-Force or Soldier, I forgot what the tags were, but the X-Force card specifically, it's going to pass right by this. You have the one that searches for Avengers, it's going to pass right by this. You have Domino, who's going to be intentionally discarding these cards. This is excellent. You can even play this in the Spider SPDR, so Penny Parker. This is going to be excellent. Just an extra way to soak up damage. Lots of health for something that's free. This is awesome. So that is White Fox. And then our last card, the Posse. Oh, so we're going to get one more. Who is this? Is this Yukio? I'm not sure. So we have one more. Oh, no, they are the posse. Okay, it's the 3 of them. Never mind. So it's just these 3 characters. Play only if you control the posse. All 3 characters with the posse trait. But there's 4 of them. White Fox. Where's the 4th member of the posse? Oh, that's real sad. One person's going to get left out and they're going to feel terrible. So 2 cost event, max 1 per deck, the posse. Play only if you have at least 3. Oh, you can have all 4. Okay. Hero action, heal damage from each posse character and ready them. This card is great. This is so good because you're going to be able to use the busted effects again to get more recursion on your ridiculous symbols. Oh my goodness. So honestly, just for the fun factor, I think out of the 2 of these decks, I want to dive into the Domino deck more. The idea of just milling, playing that casino style is something I enjoy a lot. And the fact you have so much manipulation and modulation, that's going to be so much fun on the player side, particularly in the solo mode, because everyone's not going to be waiting for you as you move stuff around. But that sounds so much fun. So that's the posse for... Oh, wow. Domino. Awesome. So that's the Domino pack. And those are all the cards. Let's see if we missed anything here. Let's go look at these large spreads. So there's a spear of some sort that we didn't get to see. Suppressing Hope. We've got some new villains down here. I'm not going to go into too much detail on those. We talked about Hope's Captor, Hope Summers and Juggernaut, Mr. Sinister. And I'm not going to get in too much into the design of the scenarios as well. I do enjoy going through all of the different cards when they actually are released and experience them from the first time that way. So we have an idea of some of the mechanisms, but not necessarily the arc of the scenario. So pretty excited for this overall. So yes, we've got a character that's going to be leading to leadership, and then we've got Domino who's going to be leading into justice. So looking forward to this. I think that these are excellent. And ooh, yes. Okay, we have more X-Force inbound. I'll be honest with you. I don't really know the X-Force that well. Is this in the back here? Let's look. Any guesses as to who's going to be coming up next? Oh, so yeah, I can't even give a hint. I'll be honest with you. This is bad. Like Cable with all of the machines coming out of them, and Domino were definitely the ones you could tell from like a distance. This is just showing my ignorance of the X-Men comic book universe. And this is another reason I really enjoy Marvel Champions so much, is it introduces me to so many new characters, and those characters that I'll have no idea exist, and then I see them and I'm instantly impressed and excited to try them out. If you have any ideas who these characters are, let's put some guesses down in the comments. I'm excited. So there are 4 hero packs this time around, and each of them star an iconic member of the X-Force. So does that mean Deadpool's in here at some point? No, he's an ally. I think if Deadpool was anybody, maybe that one in the back that has something sticking out of them. Who knows? I'm surprised they didn't drop a Deadpool announcement in. Okay. Deadpool and Nightcrawler in the corners. Oh, is that Nightcrawler? Oh, please be Nightcrawler. I didn't know that Nightcrawler was an X-Force. Okay. So I'm surprised that they didn't release a Deadpool expansion on April Fool's Day. That's what I thought they were waiting for, honestly, because they did it with Peter Porker last year. So that's really what I was banking on, was the Deadpool announcement on April Fool's. But unfortunately, that did not happen. But if he's going to be a full-fledged hero pack here, excellent. So I imagine the far right. Oh, you're right. Far right is Deadpool. He's holding a chimichanga. That's why you've got like this. There's lettuce. The lettuce gave it away. So we. Nice. Okay. The guy in the code is Archangel. I was thinking potentially Havoc. Was he an X-Force at all? And then you said this character here is Nightcrawler. Is that the tail? It might be like the puff from smoke being bamfed. Okay, cool. I like it. All right. So with that in mind, let's do a quick overview of the cards that I think were the best releases in this pack. So this is a hard one for me. I think that I'm going to do one from each of the hero sets, and then maybe one that's not in any of the hero sets. So the one from the hero set that I'm going to go with is, for Cable in particular, is his removable side scheme that gives you. Yes, this one. This removable side scheme that gives you +1 to your stats. It's thematic for Cable's entire skill set. It makes sense. It's going to start getting the ball rolling on all of your different abilities, and it's just going to be something that you're going to want to go for as quick as possible. It is free to play, so you immediately get it out there, and it's going to be something you're chasing for getting done as soon as possible. So it's another way to build your engine that fuels all of your other cards, and I think that this card is just great in general and does everything that Cable's trying to do. Awesome. So it is Technovirus Purge, the card that I think is the coolest from Domino. I think that every card is so much fun, and just being able to live the dream with, where is it? Jackpot. That's got to be it. Because this is just going to be something that you're going to see. You're going to feel great when you see it, when you do every single Domino thing, and then it immediately goes back, and so you can get that feeling again. You can also make it so that your deck is at a specific point. We have only a few cards left, and you're able to just go off with this Jackpot. I'm thrilled. I can't wait to try this out. This sounds so much fun. So Jackpot for that. And if you get it open in hand, it's not the worst thing in the world. You can always just play it for resource cost, and then use Domino's effects to put it back in your hand, and then use Domino to put it back on top of your deck. So there are ways to still use it for its resources itself to play stuff, and then get it back on top of your deck. This is awesome. So it's the Jackpot. And we saw all those cards cared about what specific types were discarded. And heck, if you want to, you can even play the other cards that care about discarding cards. So if you want to play Adam Morlock, you can do this if it somehow gets stuck in your hand. I highly doubt that's going to happen, but that could be a thing that maybe you want to try as well. So Jackpot for Domino. And then the best card it's going to be that other Domino card. It was... Where is she? The White Fox. That's got to be the best neutral card, or the player card that's not stuck to a hero. It's got to be her. I think there's so much versatility here in playing with all the cards that use the discard from the deck as a cost. And then White Fox is going to be just something that's going to be thrown into a lot of things. And you'll probably never play her if she's in your hand, but it is an option if you need it to. And you have the ways that you can shift it back to the top. I'm thinking Star-Lord, who can just switch it with the top card of his deck. There's a lot of ways to change this and a lot of ways to trigger it. And that's something that I'm looking forward to. And just for like mechanism purposes, I think that the coolest one is Team Investigation. I love this concept of the player cards scaling with the villain cards as well, because normally you only see that little player symbol on the actual enemy cards. So the fact that they are incorporating that into your player deck is great, because they're able to honestly make cards so that they're not just awful at certain player counts. And that's great, because I know that there are a lot of cards in this game that are straight up bad in 1 and 2 players. And you look at them, you're like, why would you ever play this? An example here is Maria Hill. I think that Maria Hill Maria Hill's pretty great in every player count. Maria Hill's amazing. I lied. Maria Hill's good at every player count, but when you get in higher player counts, she's even better. But if you played a Maria Hill that said, oh, now I'm just creating ridiculous cards. What if Maria Hill said something like draw 3 cards or draw 4 cards? Oh, who knows? Draw X cards where X is like the number of players and then distribute them or something like that. That would be cool to me. Or maybe that's what we'll see with Scott Summers. Maybe his actual Cyclops ally will do something like draw a card for each player and then give 1 to each player. Well, I guess that wouldn't work because they'd be your cards. You get what I'm saying, though. You got some cool concept with this scalability, and I think that this is a great way to move and to open that design space for Marvel Champions. This is awesome, and I think that this has got to be the highlight. And that's where we're going to go ahead and close this video today. That's the reveal for the new NeXt Evolution expansion pack for Marvel Champions. I'm thrilled. I just totally didn't realize that it was actually going to be a campaign box. Obviously, we knew that Mr. Sinister was going to be here eventually, but the fact that he bought an entire posse of heroes as well as villains, this is so awesome. So I'm excited for this. I'm curious to hear what were your favorite cards that were announced in this expansion set. Which of the heroes are you more excited for, Domino or Cable? I think I'm definitely leaning more towards Domino just because of that casino playstyle. So much fun. I love that in card games. Being able to modulate and change it as well is a lot of fun. So that's the one that I'm looking forward to the most. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And thank you so much for being here and watching. Hop, Danica, and Mark, thank you so much for being here live and asking questions and for helping me figure out some of the new champions that are going to be new heroes in the future. Excited for this, excited to play Marvel Champions, and I gotta go set up a game right now. Thank you so much for watching. Side Game Strong, y'all.